You know, if there's one question that get asked more than any other, more even than if Dracula has no reflection, how does he keep his hair so immaculate? That question would have to be, Mark, will the Freewell real lens hood for the Nikon Z 40mm transform your photography from also-rans to better-thans? Well, today we're going to try and answer that question. Better than what? How can a lens hood make my already amazing photography any better? Well, this is more than just a lens hood. Full disclosure, this was sent to me to have a look at on the channel by Freewell, but no money changed hands, and all of my opinions are my own, which is why most of the time they're pretty hard to justify. First up, let's unbox this baby.
Now that's gonna leave a mark. Ladies and gentlemen, are you not entertained? And that's why I love my job. Come on, do something.
This is more than a lens hood. It had better be for the price you pay for it. In fact, this is a 3-in-1 device. Yes, a holy trinity of functions, enough to make Dracula shudder. And let's be honest, he has no real need for one of these anyway, since one of the things that makes this unique is that it comes with a circular polariser, perfect to cut down those vampiric reflections. That means our virgin ingenue won't see you coming as she uses her makeup in her bedchamber. But that's not all. As well as acting as a polarizer and as a hood to keep out the stray light from the crimson sputtering candles casting rays against the castle wall, this is also a mist filter. That means when our virginal victim does catch sight of you, you're less likely to get that look of abject horror and the Wilhelm scream. Instead, she can marvel at how the filter renders your peeling grey skin and crusty cankers, giving them a gentle ethereal glow under the flickering candlelight. Yes, this is a multi-purpose device, but it is pretty niche since it's really only designed for one lens, a Nikon Z 40mm f2. That was definitely a good choice since it's probably the most street of the Nikon lenses available, and the versions offered for other manufacturers are pretty much geared to their compact offerings like the Fuji X100VI and the Ricoh GR4. You can see where this is going. Rather than tackle the landscape enthusiast willing to lug their gear up a mountain to capture a fleeting sunrise, this is firmly targeted at the hipster looking for a low-profile solution to give their street shots that special sauce. Yes, someone as pretentious as me, because let's face it, with that square hood, you could be forgiven for telling yourself you're packing a Leica. We all know that square hoods are cooler than round ones. So how does it work? Well, it's pretty straightforward really. You'll see that the hood has an outer lip that goes around the outside of the lens, and the inner lip screws into the filter thread. So already you know it's made for a 52mm thread size, which interestingly is a pretty common one in the Nikon lens lineup. So it screws directly in, and well, that's it really. The two main components are the hood itself, which does actually flip up and is like a handsome on the 40mm, even if it does actually add a bit of size to the whole setup. Obviously, there's not much you can really do about that, and perhaps you could have a lower profile solution, but it wouldn't be as slick or as functional as this one. Because with the Freewell real lens hood, you get to adjust the filter even with the hood on. You get these lugs on the side of the barrel that rotate, adjusting the angle of polarization to accommodate the angle of light and the strength of the effect you're trying to achieve. It turns nice and smoothly, and of course it has the added benefit that you don't get your fingers in the way of the filter or even on the surface smudging up your lovely photographs. You can just flip the hood up or down depending on which way it's oriented, and you can also replace it with any filter of your choice. I guess if you had a gradient neutral density filter, that would work too. too to allow you to adjust the angle of the horizon. But for now, let's just see what the polarizer can do on a summer morning combined with that quarter strength mist filter. Will it cut through the glare and allow me to render the stark and contrasty scene of Scarborough Beach in Perth with just a little more grace and delicacy? Let's see. Well, you could see the effect, I think. For a lot of the video shots, I was rotating the filter to show the impact, primarily on the skies. Of course, the quarter strength mist is baked into the filter too, so that also is going to render a bit of a glow in the highlights and reduce that contrast a little. Overall, it seemed to do the job and was actually quite fun to use in practice. Of course, there's an extra step to adjusting the polarizer that does slow down your photography a bit, though I was finding that with the particular conditions I was shooting in, it was easy enough to dial it in for maximum effect, and then the strength of the results just varied depending on where I was situated with regard to the location of the sun. In the end, this is something you're going to want to strap onto your lens and just go ahead and use it without thinking too much. Arguably, this is an always-on solution for some circumstances. If you want to just give your video a more organic look with a bit richer color from the polarizer, that slightly blue creamy quality of the mist filter and the slower shutter speed you can get from really sticking anything darker in front of your lens, then this does the job admirably. The fact that it only does it on your Nikon Z 40mm is a bit of a bummer, though I did find I could hack it to a few of my other lenses. Most notably this 50mm f1.2. It goes over the lip of the lens like that and screws in with the 52mm thread, and there you go. I just need to adjust the hood itself. You do need something with enough of a lip to wrap over the nose of the lens though, and it's for that reason that they don't actually advertise it for the 28mm Z, though the website does note that you can get it to work if you put a UV filter on first. So that's fair enough. Look, it also fits my Nikkor Z 24-50mm f4 to 6.3. Not the highest quality lens, but honestly good enough for most circumstances. This though is where you do run into the physical limitations of stacking filters and hoods on top of each other. You do end up with corner cropping at the wide end of the lens though, so best to stick with focal lengths over 28mm. For me, swapping out lenses is even less fun than swapping out filters, so I was just happy to keep walking with it securely fastened to my 40mm. So that's the Freewell real lens hood for the Nikon Z 40mm and potentially a few other lenses you might have lying around with 52mm filter threads. Obviously, purposely designed for the black 40mm, it does actually look quite neat on my SE version, giving it that fake retro allure, but it's not all about looks. Well, at least if it is, it's as much about the look of the photo rather than the device itself. It's not going to revolutionize your photography. It breaks my heart to show the unedited JPEGs, but I think you deserve them if you're going to make an objective decision about what this thing can do. And look, these crap snapshots of the beach are still just crap snapshots of the beach, but it does have an effect on the final image that is quite pleasing. Overall, anyway, honestly, there's nothing here that screams misfilter to me, but if you do compare these two shots side by side, you can see how the polarizer does cut through some of the blue scattered light, just leaving the image a bit more punchy. Of course, that's most obvious in the way that it's darkened the sky and created more cloud contrast too. Like I said, the mist effect is fortunately quite subtle. Since it's built into the polarizer, that's probably a good thing because I do think that the look can be a bit overdone. Do we really need to see any more Cinestill 800T Pro Mist night petrol station photographs? The effect is definitely there though, and it's a pleasant one. The Scarborough pool text looks a little bit less harsh than in the original, and highlights are a bit more even. There wasn't much artificial lighting around, but you can see here how it gives a bit of a glow to a light source, which would probably make for a smoother image overall. The best example of the impact of the Freewell lens hood, to me, can be found in this image. I mean, yes, it's okay, it's sharp. The Nikon Z lenses are all pretty sharp, particularly stop down 1 or 2 aperture values. But, well, it's kind of cold, kind of clinical, kind of boring. Compare it to this image, and yes, the effects are subtle, but they're definitely there. The tone is a little warmer, the shadows and highlights less aggressive and harsh. There's better separation in tones on the ground, and you can see the green in the trees. Plus that patented cloud contrast. They all combine to make a crappy shot a little less crappy, and if it was a good shot, maybe it could even elevate it to greatness. Not sure I took any great shots today, but I'm definitely intrigued. This is more than just a one lens, one trick pony, and it doesn't feel like a cheap donkey of a device either. The overall look and feel is of a thoroughbred, and that's reflected in the price, but I think that if this is something you're going to regularly use, then you probably know it and you're willing to pay the money to have something that you can leave on your lens to make those moments a bit more cinematic. Is that you? Is this something you're likely to use? If you want to, you can use the link provided by Freewell in the description below and pick one up yourself. And of course, I'd love to hear your comments about this thing. It's a lens hood. It'll protect your 40mm from accidental knocks and keep the stray light from your lens. It's also a mist filter that will render a softness and subtle cinematic glow to your images. And finally, it's a circular polarizer, cutting out all of that stray light and the reflections and adding a bit more punch and dynamism to your photographs. No, it won't turn you into a great photographer. For that, you're going to have to subscribe as well as keep liking this video and come back for more. No, it won't turn you into one of the greats. It didn't for me, but it could turn those also rans into better thans, making that harsh summer light or those crisp neon lights and sprinkling them with a dash of diffusion and direction to tame the hardness and brutalism of the world and render it as something just a little less, well, ugly, I guess. Later. Pretty straightforward, really. You'll see that the hood has an outer lip that goes around the outside of the lens, while the inner lip, if I can get this right, actually just screws into the 52mm filter thread. So